is I don't need it. And that bears on the other comment that you made. And for those of you who are in the audience, you might reflect on why would Dr. McLaughlin tonight associate me and this program and the funds for the program. Why would he begin to associate me with the PTL Club? Is it possible? Is it possible? Kirk, would you come up, please? Is it possible that after the evidence has been presented and it has not been refuted, and I say it will not be falsified, and I'll say the geology professor tonight who made such a dramatic claim will not be calling me in a week or 2 weeks or a month or a year. He will never call because he'll never be successful, because the granite synthesis experiment has already been done, because the granite synthesis experiment in nature has already been done. It's shown to be rhyolite, not granite. But Kirk is the president of the Society for Creation Science. And rather than my telling you where the money came from, I think I'll let Kirk tell you where the money came from. And before he does that, I want to remind you that when I started out 4 years ago, I invested every penny I had to begin my research. I borrowed money, and over the years that has continued. And Kirk, I'd like for you to tell the audience where the money came from for our program tonight.
I'm rather glad he called me to the front. I, too, like you, was somewhat curious in seeing the sound system, which cost $350 tonight. We had another offer for $1,100, but that was somewhat over our budget. Anyway, I had inquired where might these funds be coming from and learned that there were businessmen who had a great enough concern and a great enough interest in this subject to want it to be made known to the nation and to the world. They have remained anonymous, and they have provided the funds for Mr. Gentry to write his book. I think that's a very honest way for him to conduct his business through the private grants of concerned citizens to continue this effort. Thank you for asking.
In other words, I paid for it out of my own money and was hoping, of course, that the sale of the books tonight would cover my expenses. Obviously, that isn't going to happen. Obviously, I'm going to be greatly the loser in terms of my finances in doing what I've done. But as far as I'm concerned, it was all worth it. Thank you, Kurt. But I'd like to say this as well. There was no one connected with that organization that was just mentioned. In fact, I have nothing to do with the organization that was mentioned here tonight. There's someone back there. Would you like to moderate the question or come forward?
The gentleman that just spoke, Dr. McLaughlin, says he was somewhat disappointed. But he's not near as disappointed as most of us are, in that he is here, and instead of refuting the evidence you presented, decides instead to attack the man. That is it seems, over the past several years, has been the method that those who deny creation science have taken. If the evidence is there to refute it, we all call for them to present it. And if not, get behind it, but not attack the man.
Well, what can I say except, of course, I appreciate the comments. However, I don't want anyone to feel that you hurt my feelings. I've gone into this, and over the years, I want to assure you the remarks that have been made tonight are quite kind compared to some of the things that have been said over the years. There are many, many other things that I could say, but it's getting late. I've got to stop. I did receive a response from the National Academy of Sciences, and we want to show that letter right now, and then we're going to close. All right. Dr. Press, this time, was gracious enough to send me a reply, and I appreciate that. As you can see, he says, I am responding to your letter of March 24, 1987. The booklet, Science and Creationism, A View from the National Academy of Sciences, provides in detail an answer to the main point of your letter, the reasons why this institution, meaning the Academy, maintains that creationism should not be taught in the schools. You see, what he's doing is reiterating the main point of the booklet. The main point of the booklet is simply that there is no evidence for creation science. And that's why I geared the presentation tonight on a scientific level. Your work on radio halos is a matter of record in journals and can be debated by scientists. That is the way science works. I cannot agree with your contention that one small piece of data invalidates the vast body of evidence from geology, astronomy, biology, radio dating, the fossil record, genetics, and other fields that, taken together, irrefutably show the age of the Earth is about 4.5 billion years, and that life on the Earth had its beginnings billions of years ago. Now, I want to stop right there and respond. First of all, as I've indicated before, creation science is not going to change anything with respect to the here and now. Physics, laboratory chemistry, laboratory biology, there is no difference. As a scientist today who believes in creation in the past, certainly physical laws today are operating on a constant basis. The question, though, is whether the interpretation of the data is correct. And as individuals sometimes do, Dr. Press has taken the science of the present, which is valid, and has lumped that with the science of the past, or what is presumed to know about the past, when he, of course, talks about geology, and, of course, assuming that he must mean historical geology or the interpretation of geology, and thereby equating the historical interpretive aspect of geology with the so-called, for example, mineral identification and the physical aspects of geology which can be validated in the here and now. In other words, what he's done is to lump some things which are absolutely correct in terms of the here and now, present-day science, and then lump that with the interpretive framework and say that all this shows that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old and life had its beginnings billions of years ago. Notice this, and I'll read the last statement, then we'll go back. Notice this. Dr. Press does not even mention the falsification test. Doesn't even mention it. This is what it's all about. People have said creation science is not science because there's no way to falsify. There is a way to falsify. And there's also a way to tell whether the evolutionary principle is valid or not. And as of this night, the evidence is that the evolutionary fundamental premise of the evolutionary theory is wrong. That evolutionary theory is falsified. Here's the last statement. There's a quote from Albert Einstein inscribed on his statue on the ground of the Academy building as follows. The right to search for truth implies also a duty. One must not conceal any part of what one has recognized to be true. Well, from the very inception of my work, I presented everything that I have found to the scientific community in an attempt to get a response. I have hidden and concealed nothing. You may reflect tonight as you leave whether the same has been true in respect to the way in which the work that I have done has been presented to the scientific community. My whole book is an attempt to reveal everything that is done. And the thing I want to reveal the most tonight, which is yet to be responded to by factual evidence, is the evidence for creation in terms of the falsification test, the Creator creating something which today cannot be reproduced. I would urge you to consider all the evidence. This I have done. This, too, is the way science works. I would suggest tonight, in considering all the evidence, it is the burden of the other side to consider the falsification test and the evidence of the halos, which have yet to achieve an explanation within conventional science. Thank you and good night.